Hi there, Annie from Mountain Crest Gardens here. Now, a lot of people are familiar with succulents as, say, a houseplant or, a cute little buddy for the desk, but not everyone realizes that they can actually grow outdoors. And some of them do really well outside because they're drought tolerant, they're low maintenance, and they can handle full sun along with really rocky soil. Now at Mountain Crest Gardens, we have a whole curated category of these outdoor growing succulents, but I want to share my top 5 favorites that are really easy to grow in a garden, along with a couple tips for outdoor succulent care. So let's go play outside. First, let's talk spreading ground covers, and your best bet here is definitely going to be one of the hardy sedums, also known as stone crops. And I've gone and picked my favorite. It's one of the reflexum types. So sedum reflexum often has this kind of pine needle look to it, and this cultivar is called Angelina. Angelina has fantastic colors really year round. So this is her summer golden look, and this plant is also blooming at the moment, so it's looking a little tall and flowery. But most of the time you would see something more like this down here, just a really dense, lush mat of ground cover. And this little trooper can even handle a little bit of foot traffic, which is great. And compared to other succulents, it's a little more forgiving of a range of light and water conditions. So this is really useful if you're trying to plant in an area that's maybe a little too shady really for succulents, or maybe too wet. Maybe it's right by a lawn and it's gonna get hit by irrigation. Fortunately, your sedums are very forgiving, and with a little extra water, sometimes they actually just spread faster. So this one is great. I feel like it's the epitome of a hardy succulent in just so many respects. Okay, best succulent for full outdoor sun has to be a cactus. And these guys are really great at tolerating not only full sun, but also high temperatures and drought all at the same time. And that's something that would really fry and dry out a lot of other succulents. Now, if you're in a frost-free climate, you have a whole world of landscaping cactus to choose from. But for the rest of us, we have to be a little more careful about making sure we're picking out frost-hardy varieties. So one of those is our Opuntia, also known as the prickly pear cactus. And it's got this fun kind of paddle shape to its stems, and it gets this really cool sculptural form to it. Additionally, in the winter, as it gets cold and it has to kind of fill itself with antifreeze to keep from freezing over and turning into a cactus ice cube, it'll get a cool purple flush to it. And then come spring and summer, they have these large, showy, colorful blooms to them. So they're a very cool plant, and their care is very hands-off. I say that in 2 ways because A, you don't have to do much to them, they kind of go crazy and they're really prolific, and B, keep your hands off them. In fact, keep a good distance from them, because in addition to these spines that a lot of them have, they also have glochids, which are smaller, but they're barbed, so they can pierce not only skin, but leather gloves, and they're really hard to get out. So it's one that you can appreciate from afar, and really, I love seeing them all year long, but the flowers make them so worth it. My pick for the best succulent for winter interest is going to be this Sempervivum hufelii. Now, you may be familiar with the name Sempervivum, that's your standard hens and chicks succulent. So this is just one species of it, but as you can tell from all these labels, there are a lot of cultivars out there, and they come in all different colors and a little bit of variety in shapes too. Now, this one is, I think, even better than your standard Semp because it maintains these really vibrant jewel tones really in every season. And additionally, it's even more frost hardy than a standard Semp. This guy can go down all the way to -30 degrees Fahrenheit. And the other key difference is, whereas a standard Semp is going to send off its offsets on these long stolons, this one keeps them close. So over time, it forms these really dense, sometimes even tall mounding clusters. So this is a fantastic plant, both for its ease of growth and for the really cool colors you can get out of it. Sometimes you need a really large plant to create a focal point in your garden, and that's where agave come in. Now, there are a ton of species out there. Those of us in climates that get frost need to be careful that we're picking frost-hardy varieties. So in that case, go for something like an agave perii or Utah hensis. And these can get quite large, so at Mountain Crest we always list the mature dimensions of the plant in our catalog, just so you can be sure you're planting it somewhere where you can really accommodate the full mature size of the plant. The other consideration to make is whether you're looking for a pupping variety that's going to send out new offsets under the ground, or if you really just want a single solitary plant. Either way, it's really striking. It's got that fierce desert look to it, and it's always eye-catching in the landscape. Best outdoor succulent for flowers, my pick has to be the Delosperma. This buddy here, you can see it's very prolific. It's one of the ice plants, and it grows really well in a lot of different climates. Now, some people would call this an aggressive grower, but the thing about it is its roots aren't very deep, so it's easy to regularly pull it back if you don't want it spreading quite this much. And all of these flowers make it a great option if you're trying to support pollinators in your garden. Additionally, there are a ton of cultivars of Delosperma out there that have been bred to have cool, different colored flowers. So this one really packs a punch in a landscape. Succulents vary widely in their cold tolerance. So some of them aren't going to tolerate any frost at all. Others can handle a little bit, and other succulents can actually withstand really low temperatures, like all the way down to -40 degrees. Fortunately, at Mountain Crest Gardens, we list the minimum temperature tolerance of every succulent we grow, both on the website and on the included ID tags that come with your plant. So all that you need to know is the minimum temperature of your climate. Fortunately, the USDA has this really cool online tool, I'll link it below, and all you have to do is enter in your zip code and it'll spit back your minimum temperature along with your hardiness zone. And the lower the number of that hardiness zone, the colder the winter. So if you're rated for, say, zone 6, you're looking for plants that are hardy to zone 6 or higher. When it comes to sunlight, it's a little bit hard to generalize, but most of your outdoor succulents are going to want a lot of sunshine. That being said, they can get a permanent succulent sunburn if they're going to have to contend with full sun, along with drought, along with high temperatures. So a cool landscaping hack for you to avoid that is to plant your succulents to the east of a building or a tree. That way they're gonna get lots of direct morning sunlight, but they'll be shaded partially in the afternoon when temperatures are at their hottest. And there's bonus points if you plant to the east of a deciduous tree like this one. That way in the winter, your succulents are gonna get a lot more light because the tree will have lost its leaves. For soil in your succulent garden, you're looking for something light, something gritty, and well draining. So a nice sandy loam is perfect, but if you don't have that, you can absolutely add amendments, some mineral grit to your soil to help it with drainage. So in a small area, that might mean buying a bag of commercial cactus and succulent mix, but for a large area, you're really gonna need to add a lot of mineral grit. So something like coarse sand, pumice like this here, or even perlite would do the trick. And just mixing that in is gonna help your succulents to avoid rot. Additionally, another trick for you, you really wanna mound your soil up into beds or berms like this one here. And that's serving a couple of functions. It both adds levels and height to your plantings, and it's gonna help with that drainage again. Additionally, I always like to think in rock gardening, you want about 50% plants and 50% rocks. So use big boulders like these to your advantage. And they're also gonna add interest to your planting. They pair really well and highlight the succulents around them, and they're also helping prevent rot. The other thing about these hardy succulents, they're perfectly happy shoved into small spaces. So like crevices in boulders, in logs, in a retaining wall as well. And I particularly like using our succulent plug trays for big landscaping projects like this, partly because they lend themselves to plugging them into little crevices, but also it eliminates a lot of plastic waste. Succulents are drought tolerant, so they're gonna want less frequent watering than the rest of your garden. But how frequently you water is gonna vary a lot based on your climate, your soil type, what varieties of succulents you have, and even the time of year. So as a very, very general guideline, Go ahead and water your succulents regularly when they're young and still establishing roots, but after that, we're gonna aim for deep but infrequent water in the growing season. So for us, that looks like about an hour of sprinklers or a deep drenching with a hose once a week in the summer. And then scale it back in the shoulder seasons and withhold water completely in the winter. Now, obviously that's going to vary a lot depending on how much precipitation you get and so many other variables. So don't forget to get out there, observe your plants, feel their leaves, feel the soil down to a couple inches, and really strike that balance to let them dry out in between waterings. Additionally, we have a full guide to watering succulents that's linked in the description below, so you can learn a ton more there. There you have it, my 5 easiest outdoor succulents and how to care for them in your garden. You can find a ton more of these outdoor varieties in our curated category, which is linked in the description. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you want to connect back with us here, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell. Until next time, happy succulenting.